Hi everyone, we're back, and even though we've had a really mild winter, I'm going to make another hearty cold winter dish. And really this recipe is more about making my stuffing than it is about, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stuff a chicken breast. It's frozen, it's thawing out right now. Um, well, the different ingredients you're going to need is basically it's bread, celery, and onion. I don't like meat in my stuffing, and I don't like fruit in my stuffing either. Either one is not tasty. Some of the things I'm going to use, this is in a container, but this is actually parsley from my garden. This is the granulated garlic, and of course we're going to need poultry seasoning, an egg. Now on the bread, what I do, these are all different sorts of breads. There is a little bit of white bread. There's some regular whole wheat, but I also have some other bread in here that's real grainy. What I do is when I get down to the bottom of the bread, I just throw it in the freezer. And then like twice a year, I'll make a stuffed turkey breast at Thanksgiving, which is basically the exact same recipe because we don't have a lot of meat eaters anymore. We don't need to make a whole turkey. We just do a turkey breast. And then I do maybe one more time a chicken breast sometime during the winter. This is Italian bread. There's some rye bread in here. I even have a old hamburger bun. So I just, whatever I'm down to bread, I just throw in a bag and throw it in the back of the freezer, and then a couple times a year I'll make my stuffing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cube up all this bread into nice little cubes, and then I'm also going to dice up my celery and onion, and that's going to be like the main thing. So I'm going to get to work on that, and I'm going to come back and show you how we're going to mix it all together, and then we're going to stuff the chicken breast as well. Okay, I'll be back in a little bit. All right, I'm back. I've got everything cut up now. What I've got, I use whatever bread I have, and I also found some salad croutons and threw those in. So I've got a variety of different kinds of bread, some salad croutons in here. I've cut up one onion and actually four stalks of celery. So equal ratio. And the reason I don't do it ahead of time is because you never know how much you're going to end up with, the bread-wise. And also this is going to shrink down once it's been moistened. I'm going to add in my different spices first. I really just use my hands on this because it's the only way you're going to get it really mixed up. I mean, wash your hands before you start. So I'm just sprinkling with first this is granulated garlic, and I kind of just want to get a little bit on everything. And now I'm going to add my parsley. This is parsley from my garden, and I just upcycled one of these old, I had it in my freezer I had it in a Ziploc baggie. And I said, well, I'm just going to upcycle one of these old containers. So this is my garden parsley, but I've just put it in one of these store-bought containers. This is from like a restaurant supply place. So the same thing, I'm just going to kind of just keep looking at it. You want a little bit, you want it to look seasoned. And I mean, you could just use seasoned croutons just to start out, but I just like to, all the different kinds of bread. And I don't have any pumpernickel. I really do like the flavor of pumpernickel in the stuffing. Still a little, a little bit more. I just go by the color and the way it looks. Okay. All right. I think that might be enough parsley. Maybe one more dab of parsley. There we go. This is dried parsley from my garden. It keeps coming back every year, and we've had another pretty mild winter, so I think it might come back again. So then the poultry seasoning. And a lot of people will put the poultry seasoning in with the liquid stuff, but again, I just don't know how much liquid I'm going to end up using, so I don't do that. But poultry seasoning, you really do want to get a little bit on get it in there real good. I'll dig into the bottom, really get some of that all over all of the different breads. And now at this point too, you could even do this ahead of time and then lay this out to dry. You know, if you wanted to like be more croutonish and dried up. So I would say parsley, poultry seasoning, and a little garlic powder, granulated garlic actually, is going to be your best bet. Oh, one more thing, I am going to add a little bit of salt. This is sea salt, so it's not so, little goes a long way. Oops. Alright, so now that I've got all my bread products here kind of coated, I'm going to add in that celery And I'm going to add in the onion. A lot of people will cook this down ahead of time and put it in with, you know, I've heard of people like putting it in butter and chicken broth and cooking it down on the stove to get it soft. I don't like that. I want it kind of, well, it's going to cook in the oven, you know, so I do want a little bit of a crunch in there. I don't want it, the vegetables mushy. It gives it more of a freshness than if it goes in raw. And again, it will cook when it's baked in the oven and inside the poultry. All right, so I think this is a really nice mixture. Now I'm going to put in my egg right in the middle. And I'm going to still use my fingers, but I know it's going to need some chicken broth. But I'm just going to add the chicken broth as we go, just to get it to a nice texture. Start out with a little, and we may add more. We'll have to see. Don't be afraid to just get your hands in there. It's really the only way you're going to get it all mixed up. You don't want it to be too, you don't want it to be one big giant bread ball. That's why you kind of give it a looser mix with your fingers, because you want it to be, stuffing. It's not going to be one big giant thing. But you do want to get it, it's a tough call. I like mine very much stuck together. I don't want it crumbly all over the place. I think that's not stuffing. That's just... So just keep kind of adding until you get it to the consistency you want. And I think that's kind of a personal thing. Okay. Personal preference. And as you add the liquid, of course, the bread is going to also shrink. So you have to allot for that too. Okay. See, it's still much too crumbly. It's not holding together. I want the stuffing to hold together. Okay, more liquid. And you're going to have goop all over your hands. It's going to have to deal with it. Now again, if you're vegetarian, usually if like on Thanksgiving, I make one batch of this kind, and then I make another batch with, just vegetable broth, or even just water. And you can even do like I've done before, water with some chicken bouillon, and that's vegan. It's not real meat stuff in it. But I usually make two, just like I do with the stuffed cabbage. I make two, one with chicken broth and one without. Okay. All right, so I think this is good. Actually, my breast is still frozen that I'm going to stuff, so that's going to sit for a while. And it's not a bad idea to make this ahead of time and kind of let the flavors all sort of stick together. See, I've got mine where if I wanted to, I could put it together, but it still comes apart. So it's fairly damp, fairly moist, and we're going to pack it in and stuff that chicken breast. It'll pack together, but we don't want it packed together. So I think this is a real nice texture and mix. And I'll be back in a little bit. I'm going to show you how to stuff the chicken breast, and we're going to cook it in the oven. Be back in a bit. All right, so I've got the breast finally thawed out. And what I've done now is I'm just going to kind of pull this away and loosen it away. If you got to touch it, I know it's kind of gross. But I'm going to loosen up the skin. And that's going to be my pocket where I'm going to put my stuffing. So it's been sitting around a little bit. It may be a little bit dry. And this is like the equivalent. I mean, back when we had meat eaters in the house, everybody liked the stuffing that was in the bird, because it just tastes. You get all that juice and everything in there. So this is kind of you get the equivalent of having stuffing in the bird without having to cook a whole bird. And I do the same thing now at Thanksgiving too. I just get a turkey breast like this, one split breast, and do the same thing. Also, I mean, although this is really cool because the skin and everything is going to get all in there and give that in the bird kind of flavor. Also, when the meat is cooking, it's going to go down into the stuff underneath. So you're going to get even more, all of this is going to have that in the bird flavor pretty much. Although the stuff under the skin, I have to say, is a little better. So I'm just going to really, really stuff that in there. And believe it or not, this takes a little bit longer. I'm going to cook it uncovered because I want the skin to get nice and brown and crispy. But it does take like a little bit longer to cook for the meat to be done when it's cooked like this for some reason. So It does take a minute. I'm going to time it. I have it on a 300-degree oven. And my oven runs a little hot, so I'm going to say it's roughly like 325. And I'll let you know when we're done how much it's going to cook. So I put a couple of tabs of butter, a real light dusting of sea salt, butter, right open like this, and I'm going to put it in. It's 300, but my oven runs a little hot, so I'm going to say it's about a 325 oven. And I'm going to show you when I take it out, and I'll let you know how long it exactly had to cook. Okay, back in a bit. Okay, here we are, and here's their finished product. It's got a nice crispy, the skin is nice and crispy, and the stuffing is cooked, and everything is cooked inside, and it's perfectly delicious. Enjoy.